Hi, Rov.
How's it, everyone? How are you?
I'm fine,
Hi,
thanks.
Rov.
How are you, Rov?
Erev Tov, Baruch Hashem. Good evening,
Good.
everyone. What's news?
Nothing news. I'll know by the end of the month if I'm successful.
Bezrat Hashem.
It's a shame.
Please God.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting very patiently.
Okay, that's very nice. Bezrat
Yeah.
Hashem, all gonna be okay.
Thank you.
Hashem, Brocha and Hatzlacha to everyone.
Amen.
We'll wait another few seconds for a few more people to come, and then Bezrat Hashem will start the shiur. And Mark, are you with me?
Yep.
You're gonna have a hard work today.
You can't frighten me, Rob. I'm used to hard work.
Okay.
He's been sitting doing nothing the whole time now. He wants to have some work for a change.
Yeah, I got to do something.
I agree with you, Marky. I agree. I'm doing my mind.
So you got to get used to it, China. I've been on lockdown for 18 months.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, our friend Dr. Les Glassman not going to be with us in the show. He lost his mom today.
We heard.
I need to send the message on a group, but I didn't have a chance. I was involved with a few things. I just have to finish a few things, and later on, Be'ezrat Hashem, after the show, I'll take the opportunity. So we're already 2 minutes after, so we'll start the show. I'm going to mute everyone. Mark, you're going to unmute yourself. You know how. So Be'ezrat Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach, ve'Hashem berachamav yarviach. I'm going to dedicate the show to Lez Mada, Tamara Bat Zehava, Leilui Nishmat Tamara Bat Zehava, Harav Avraham Chaim Ben Eliezer Yaakov, that's Rabbi Tenza, Esther Bat Kaden, ומרדכי Ben Rahma, obviously Esther Bat Moshe Levy, נשמתם תהיה צרורה בצור החיים, ולרפואת מנשה נג'י בן פרחה, ליאורה בת מרים, הרב אברהם בן מרינה, הרב שלמה יהודה בן דליה, חיה חפציבה בת שרה אימנו, and who else I forgot? 1 second. Tali Esther
Aviva Batya.
Aviva Batya בת שינה קהילה, ומרדכי
בת שינה קהילה.
say.
Moshe Meir Bat Chana. Ben Chana.
Moshe Meir Ben Hana. Okay, מהקדוש ברוך הוא בן חנה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישלח להם, please God, רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף. בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח. We in Parashat Bo, רבותיי, we in Parashat Bo, and just to give us some idea what's happening in Parashat Bo, I'll do the usual introduction. In the year 2448 for the creation, in Rosh Chodesh Adar, remember in Rosh Chodesh Adar, on a Wednesday, Moshe Rabbeinu bringing the plague of Arbe. Arbe is locusts on Egypt by the command, obviously, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if anyone will ask you when was the plague of Arbe, Rosh Chodesh Adar. In Rosh Chodesh Nisan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked Moshe and commanded him to bring the plague of Hoshech. The plague of Hoshech was for 6 days and not 7 days like all the other plagues, because the last day of Makat Hoshech, HaKadosh Baruch Hu kept it for the 21st of Nisan, when Bnei Israel was standing on a sea of reeds, as it's mentioned in that's Beyom Shvi'i, okay, that it's mentioned in Sefer Shmot, and the next parsha in Parashat Beshalach, in Perek Yudaled, that's mean chapter 14, in verse 20, Vayhi Anan v'Hoshech v'Ya'ir Laila. That means that on that night, HaKadosh Baruch Hu lightened Litten that night, okay. Also, in Makat Hoshech, Rabota, listen to that, and not many people know. 80% of Bnei Israel die. 80%, everyone know. You know how many people die on a plague of Makat Hoshech from Bnei Israel on the first 3 days? Over 2 million people. Rabota, I repeat, over 2 million people. It's unheard of. And why? There, the Zohar and the Mefarshim explain, because those 80% of Bnei Israel was wicked people. Not enough that they didn't want to leave Eretz Egypt, they was wicked, okay? That's what explained. In the night of the 15th of Nisan, now we're going to the night of 15th of Nisan, because the plague of Hoshech was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, remember. On the 15th of Nisan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu bringing on Egypt, him himself, coming down to Eretz Mitzrayim and killing, listen to that, killing every firstborn in Egyptian from mother and or from father. That means that the Hazal tell us in the beginning of Masechet Tzmachot, the Gemara on Masechet Tzmachot, right on the top, there's a small letters before the Gemara starts. Hazal explain that why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu let the Egyptian die all night? That means they was dying all night. When did they die? Early morning, in the morning. Why? Hazal there explain in the Gemara that all night, after HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plague, all the Egyptian was dying all night, and the real die, when did they really die? On the early morning, in the morning. Why? So Bnei Israel can see the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu performed, that he killed all the enemies of the Jewish people. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should see it soon, that all the enemy of the Jewish people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of them. Now we're going to start Parashat Bo. Parashat Bo, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, Bo el Paro, כי אני הכבדתי את ליבו ואת לב עבדיו, למען שיתי אותותיי אלה בקרבו. בכבוד.
Hashem said to Moses, come to Pharaoh, for I made his heart and the heart of his servant stubborn, so that I can put these signs of mine in his midst.
Okay. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Bo el Paro. What does it mean, Bo el Paro? We have to understand the word Bo. I'm going to bring two commentaries, and then I'm going to bring a different commentary to explain what I'm saying. So be careful with me, because I'm good. I mean, not be careful with me. I mean, be focused with me, sorry. What I'm doing, I'm going to do now, Pardesh, Drash, and Sod on one word. On one word. I've never done it with you before. I'm going to see if it's going to be easier. If you like it, then we'll try to do it more often. What it means, Pardesh, Drash, and Sod, that's the four ways that you can learn the Torah. Bo, say Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim. Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim born around 752 years ago in Germany. And he explained like this. And he says, we see sometimes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Bo el Paro, and sometimes he said, Lech el Paro. So we have to understand why sometimes he said Bo el Paro, and sometimes he said Lech el Paro. You should go to Pharaoh. So in a pshat of the Dvarim, to go is to go. Come to that person. But say Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Bo el Paro, that means come to his house. Go to his house. When it says go, that means go and meet him. Where? On an hour, in the early morning. Why? Because you're going to embarrass him. That means Pharaoh said that he was a god. He pretended that he's God. Pretend himself like he's God. And every morning, early morning, he used to go to the Nile to relieve himself, to clean himself. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu used to send Moshe to catch him, because you say that you're God. How do you relieve yourself? How do you go and relieve yourself? That from here we're learning that you're not God, you're a normal human being. You're eating, you're drinking, because a normal person doesn't eat, and God doesn't eat, doesn't drink. But you pretending to be, yeah. Kadosh Baruch Hu used to send Moshe and said to him, Lech, where go? Go to the Nile, go catch him, go embarrass him, to prove to him that he's not God. Boel Paro, come to his house. We see what it means, come to his house. Just now, I'm going to bring the commentary of Or HaHaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Haim ben Attar. And we see how Rabbi Haim ben Attar explained that. Another idea, what does it mean, Bo? And here we're doing Remes, Drash, Pardes, Pshat, Remes, Drash, Sod. Now we're going to do Remes. Remes is a hint. Bo, the gematria of Bo, say Rabbi Yaakov, Baal HaTurim, Bet and Aleph, 2 and 1, 3. What is the hint here? Say Rabbi Yaakov, Baal HaTurim, Akadosh Baruch Hu telling Moshe Rabbeinu, he's sending a message to Moshe Rabbeinu, he's hinting to him, another 3 plagues I will bring on Egypt, and then the nation of Israel going to be free. And then the nation of Israel going to be for freedom. But I saw a commentary about Bo that I promise you. What does it mean, Bo? Say Rabbi Haim ben Attar that after Mr. Pharaoh saw all the 7 plagues, he decided that's it. He's going to go inside to his bunker to disappear. He's going to hide in his bunker. What has he done? So no one will see him in a bunker. He gone underground, and he was a great sorcerer and great witchcrafter and great magician. He created room under room that he hide himself with all kind of evil forces that even his advisors, any sorcerers, didn't know where he is. Didn't know where he is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Boel Paro, go to Pharaoh. Go where is he hiding? Under the ground in his bunker. That no one knows where he is, only you. And then he will understand that you're the man of God. That means that there is no one can hide from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what it says. Boel Paro, go to him. How are you going to go to him? I will take you there. No one knows where is it. And here he will see that no one can hide from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what it means, Boel Paro. Later on in the verse, he says something very, very interesting. Ki ani echbadeti et libo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the pshat of the dvarim, the Torah tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hardened the heart of Pharaoh. And we have to understand why is it so important that HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to harden the heart of Pharaoh. What difference does it make if you harden him or not? So I saw one commentary that brought in a book of Adrash Ve'ayun. Adrash Ve'ayun, it's a book that's been written by Rabbi Aharon Levin. Rabbi Aharon Levin, born around 142 years ago in a city of Galicia. And there he explained like this. He explained, and he bring an idea, that the main reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to harden the heart of Pharaoh, because the plagues that he brought on Pharaoh, might going to soften his heart, and he will allow Bnei Israel to go, because there was quite a harsh plagues. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed to harden the heart of Pharaoh to make his heart so hard, so strong, so stubborn, that he will never release Bnei Israel. Why? Because if he wouldn't harden his heart, he might going to release Bnei Israel. And that's going to be not going to be the freedom of choice. HaKadosh Baruch Hu give everyone the freedom of choice. By that he give a freedom of choice, even to those that do averot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu allow them and give them the energy to wake up in the morning. So he say here, Ani echbadeti et libo. What does it mean, Ani echbadeti et libo? Say Rabbi Aaron Levi, I made in his heart so hardened. Why did I harden his heart? Or make it stubborn, whatever you want to call it? That he will have the freedom of choice to decide, if I release them now, then I know that at least he didn't done it because it's the heart, because he wanted to, because the harsh plagues, because he wanted to release them. But when he saw that he didn't, that's when he had the freedom of choice. Another idea that the Mefarshim ask, really, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to bring on Pharaoh such a harsh plague? Why is it so important? Why? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought all of those plagues on Pharaoh. Did you ever ask yourself? So on a pshat of the Dvarim, we know that it's used to show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in control of everything in the world, in the liquid, and what live in the liquid, under the ground, like the lice, the small little thing, until Makat Bechorot, that they are not only that HaKadosh Baruch Hu know how many people in the world, he know even who's a Bechor or not, who's a firstborn or not. That's on pshat of the Dvarim. But there's something more deep into it. And the Mefarshim explain like this. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu go to Pharaoh and ask them to release Bnei Israel for 3 days. That means for 3 days, Bnei Israel will go to the wilderness, and in the wilderness, they're going to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then they would return. What was the answer of Pharaoh? Definitely not at the beginning. Why not? HaKadosh Baruch Hu could say to Moshe, tell him to release them completely. Why not? No, he didn't want to do it. Why? Because he wanted to give Pharaoh a fair chance. Because after 210 years of slavery that the Jewish people in Egypt and doing all the dirty work, it's very hard to say to that nation immediately, that's it. There's no more people to do the dirty work. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to see if Pharaoh have Midat HaMishkal. What it means? That if he'll say yes only for 3 days, no, it's Nish Gafel Achifa, release the Bnei Israel. So for 3 days, no one will do the hard work, the dirty jobs. So that's not the end. But when Pharaoh refused, even for 3 days, to send Bnei Israel, it was already understanding that he deserved those 10 harsh plagues. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought on Pharaoh and the entire Egypt those 10 plagues. Now we understand. Okay, in chapter 10, I'm going to move, now we're still in chapter 10, we're going to move to verses 8 and 9. And here we see that the discussion that there is between Moshe Rabbeinu and Pharaoh. Moshe Rabbeinu, obviously, as we mentioned, asked Pharaoh to release Bnei Israel. I'm going to read it, and then Mark going to read it, and we'll see what is that discussion. We'll do the pshat, and we'll do the sword behind it. Okay. וישב משה ואת אהרון אל פרעה, ויאמר עליהם, לכו עבדו את אדוני אלוהיכם, מי ומי ההולכים. That, remember, verse 8. Verse 9, ויאמר משה בנערינו ובזקנינו נלך, בבנינו ובנותינו, בצוננו ובבקרנו, נלך אחד לאדוני לנו.
So Moshe and Aaron were returned to Pharaoh, and he said to them, go and serve Hashem, your God. Which ones are going? Moshe said, with our youngsters and with our elders shall we go. With our sons and with our daughters, with our flock and with our cattle shall we go. Because it is a festival of Hashem for us.
Okay, on the pshat of the Dvarim, we see that Moshe asked, Pharaoh asked Moshe, Mi v'mi, who and who are those that going to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the wilderness? On the pshat of the Dvarim, who's going? But the Mefarshim doesn't stop here. The Mefarshim say that there is here a remez. Why did Pharaoh have to say twice the word mi v'mi? Why he said twice? He repeat the word who and who. You can say who's going to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu? No, he said who and who. Why the word who, me, mentioned twice? So listen what the Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim say. Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim say that here, listen to the remez of Pharaoh. Look how Pharaoh was a great witchcrafter. Pharaoh said to Moshe Rabbeinu, by that he mentioned the word who mi v'mi, that means who and who going, he hint to Moshe Rabbeinu that from all Dor HaMidbar, from all of that generation that left Egypt, only 2 people will merit to enter Eretz Israel. Who they are? Yoshua bin Nun and Kalev ben Yefuneh. That means Pharaoh hinting to Moshe Rabbeinu, what are you trying? Anyway, all of that generation going to die in the wilderness. That's how we hint to him. Also, if you take the gematria, מי ומי ההולכים, זה רבי יעקב בעל הטורים, כלב ובן-נון. That's the gematria. So we see here, we done pshat, remes, drash. Now we're going to get to the sword. No. It says something like this. It says, the Mefarshim also ask, before I go to the sword, the Mefarshim ask, wait 1 second. How did Pharaoh knew that all of that generation going to die in the wilderness? How? If we know that they're going to go to the wilderness, they're going to be free. So why not to allow them? Pharaoh wasn't a simple person, as we explained. Pharaoh was a magician. Actually, he was the biggest magician that was in Egypt. He was full of evil forces. But Hazal explained, Ra'a ba'itstagnenut. What it means, Ra'a ba'itstagnenut? He saw in astrology what's going to happen. That means that Pharaoh, with the evil forces, saw through the astrology what's going to happen to Bnei Israel. And there is another hint to it. He saw blood in the wilderness. Penechem Ra'a, it's referring to blood, but he didn't realize that what it's referring there, that Bnei Israel are going to do Brit Milah. So he saw the blood of Brit Milah. There is a nice, what do you call it, tirutz, how's it come? It's not for now. Be'ezrat Hashem, please God, will do it another time. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu say to Pharaoh? Bin'arenu ubiskenenu. What it mean, na'arenu? That's our youths. What it mean, youths? When the Torah speak about youths, those kids until the age of 20. Ubiskenenu, elderly, those one that over the age of 60 onwards. That means Moshe Rabbeinu said to Pharaoh, listen, I know where you're going. You asking me why we're going to the wilderness. I know exactly that that generation of the wilderness will die in Mamidbar during the 40 years. But those that under the age of 20, they will enter Eretz Israel. And those over the age of 60, they're also going to enter Eretz Israel. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu said, Bin'arenu ubiskenenu. He didn't mention the middle age. What did he say? Our youths and our elderly. What does it mean, elderly? The people that over the age of 60. So Moshe Rabbeinu understand exactly where Pharaoh going. And immediately he answered them exactly what he needed to be understand. That the people that going to die on the wilderness, those that from the age of 20 to the age of 60, for 40 years, they will die in the wilderness. But those that was below the age of 20 when they left Egypt, when they gone to the wilderness, when there was in Heta Meraglim, and those that was there over the age of 60, those will merit to enter Eretz Israel. And that's the elderly that I'm talking, that you referring to, mi v'mi. Now we can understand the dialogue that was between Pharaoh and Moshe Rabbeinu, the discussion. Mi v'mi ha'olchim. On the pshat of the dvarim sound, who's going? Who is it? Who and who going? But no, it was a hint here. Me and me, only 2 people will enter Eretz Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu said to him, Vachabiki, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Kalev and Yefuneh. Yes, not only them. What about the youths? Those below the age of 20, they're going to merit to enter Eretz Israel. So you're not telling me anything new. Where do we learn that? Hazal tell us in Gemara Masechet Baba Batra in 121, folio 1, there Hazal explained to us and revealed to us that the age of those people that die in the wilderness, there was the age between 20 and 60. And that's how we know it. Okay, so now we understand the dialogue between Moshe Rabbeinu and Mr. Pharaoh. Let's move on to verse 17. In verse 17, we're going to speak about the plague of the locusts. And what does it say? It says something very interesting, that it didn't, Pharaoh never said it in any other of the plague. Look what he said. Ve'ata sana hatati ach hapam ve'atiru la'Adonai Elohechem ve'yaser me'alai rak et hamavet hazeh.
Now please forgive my sin just this time, and entreat Hashem your God, that he remove from me only this death.
In none of the plague, the Mefarshim say that Pharaoh say, remove that debt of me. Why Dafka here he said that with the plague of locusts, the plague of locusts? That's the question that most of the Mefarshim speak. On a pshat of the Dvarim, the Mefarshim explain that on a plague of locusts, on a plagues of frog, it wasn't only frog by themselves when they strike Egypt or when the locusts strike Egypt. The Mefarshim explain, and that's brought by Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, that when the locusts came with them the snake. When the frog came with them snake. And they, the one that strike the Egyptian. While the locust was destroying all the crops and eating the trees and whatever you want to call it, the snakes was killing the Egyptian. When the frog came and make the noise so the Egyptian couldn't sleep and enter the stomach and cause them pain, the snake was killing them. That's Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim. Okay, now we understand why death. But there is something on a sword, a bit more deeper. The Mefarshim explain that the locust is one of the army of Hashem. What does it mean? And I explained it many times in Mashaorim, that there is certain locusts. If you take the locust and you turn it on your stomach, you'll see the letters Het. Het, Helot. Milshon Helot is army. The army. Okay? There is certain locusts, or most of the locusts have the letters Het, that's the army of Hashem. And Hazal in a Gemara in Mishnah Masechet Avot, explain why Dever Bala Olam, why came the locusts coming to the world, you know, Al Ivut Adin, they doing a different thing. So we know that one of the army of Hashem, his army is locusts. What happened with the locusts? The plague of locusts was completely different to other plagues, besides that it came with snake. When the plague of locusts came, on Saturday, on Shabbat, the plague of locusts stopped. Okay, so they stopped one day. No. That wasn't that. When Moshe was a youngster, when he grew up in the house of Paro, he came to Pharaoh with the idea. He said to him, look, those people work 7 days a week, no 1 day rest. They're not going to survive for a long time. After a while, they're all going to collapse. If you want them to produce better, to have a better production, give them 1 day off to recharge their battery, and then they can do better production. Let them off, 1 day off a week. Pharaoh loved the idea, and he said, no, I agree. So he said to him, which day you suggest? Obviously, Moshe said, Shabbat, the 7th day. Where do we learn that? On Tefillah of Shacharit in Shabbat. We say Shmach Moshe. What it means is Smach Moshe, that Moshe will be happy b'matanat helko. What it means matanat helko? The present that he gave. What it means the present that he took to himself or that he gave? B'matanat helko, that Moshe given Bnei Israel in Egypt while they was in slavery, a day off. What is it? Shabbat. So what's the connection? Say the Mefarshim, suddenly the Egyptian will see on Shabbos Bnei Israel not working because the Jews, Bnei Israel, but also the locusts not working. They say, hey, what's happening here? Maybe there is real God. Maybe what Pharaoh and the sorcerers and all of these bubamaises that they sell us, all of those idols, maybe they are bubamaises. Pharaoh was so worried that his nation gonna see and learn from Bnei Israel and the locusts that didn't strike on Shabbos, that didn't destroy the crops on Shabbos. He was so worried. He was so worried that his nation will do tshuva, that means gonna start believing in God, that he couldn't accept. So what did he say? Please remove that debt of me before my entire nation gonna do tshuva. And that's what it said the only time that Pharaoh said to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Ve'yaser me'alai rak et ha'mavet hazeh." You understand now what does it mean? Good. Now, we have to understand something very important, what's happening in verse 23. In verse 23, where I am, yes, we're speaking about Makat Hoshech. Now we're going to speak, about the plagues of darkness. And it says like this, לא ראו איש את אחיו, ולא קמו איש מתחתיו 3 ימים, ולכל בני ישראל היה אור במושבותם.
No man could see his brother, nor could anyone rise from his place for a 3-day period. But for all the children of Israel, there was light in their dwellings.
Okay. So I'm going to do Pshat, I'm going to do Remez, I'm going to do Drash, and we're also going to do Sod on one verse. How's it work? So in this verse, according to the Pshat, the Torah described to us that was the plague of darkness in Egypt that the Kadosh Baruch Hu brought on Egypt. And it was that none of the Egyptians can see each other. That means 2 Egyptians can be on the same room and they can't see each other. That's on Pshat of the Dvarim. What was the other thing? That it said there, Velo kamu ish mitachtav. A person couldn't stand up. What do you mean you can't stand up? In the darkness you can walk, you can feel. No, they couldn't move. We have to understand that. That's on a Pshat of the Dvarim. But Hazal explained that in Makat Hoshech was completely different to all the other plagues, as we explained in the introduction. The plague of Hoshech was for 6 days only. The 7 days of Hoshech, we say that it's been kept to the 21st of Nisan, after Bnei Israel left Egypt, and they arrived to the Sea of Reeds, and there the Egyptian was following them. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all of that night, put Anan HaKavod between them, and the Egyptian couldn't hurt him, couldn't hurt Bnei Israel. Okay. So what's happening in the plague of Hoshech? The plague of Hoshech been divided to 2. First 3 days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created such a darkness that no one could see each other. And say Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh. Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh, it's Al-Sheikh HaKadosh. He born in a city of Andripoli in Turkey around 514 years ago. He explained that the main reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a darkness that no one can see each other, like we explained in the introduction, that 80% of Bnei Israel die in a plague of Hoshech, shene'emar, that it says, v'hamushim alu Bnei Israel. That means from every 5 people, 1 person left Egypt, hamushim. That means over 2 million people from Bnei Israel died in a plague of Hoshech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want to embarrass the Bnei Israel, so what has he done? That those over 2 million people that die will have a chance to be buried, and the Egyptian wouldn't see that, and they wouldn't get embarrassed to say also them. That's the first 3 days. The second 3 days, the second part of that plague, what's happened? It says, "Ve'ish lo velo kamu ish mitachtav." What it means, "Velo kamu ish mitachtav"? Hazal explained that the person that was sitting couldn't stand up. A person that was standing couldn't sit up. A person that was lying down couldn't move. He just was lying for 3 days. And Hazal explained that the darkness was so dark and so scary that no one moved. Why is it? Say Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh, usually if people hear someone coming to the house, even if it's darkness, they will try to attack because there is noise. They will think people coming to strike them. So they will try to defend themselves and try to attack. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created such a hoshech for the Egyptian that they hear Bnei Israel walking into the house. We'll explain now why. And they couldn't move. Why? Because Bnei Israel on that last 3 nights of Makat Hoshech gone through the houses of Egypt to find the treasure, to find where they're hiding all their gold, their jewelry, their money, and etc. That means that they hear people in the house, they hear people in the garden, people in the yard, People, wherever you want, there is people and talking, and they can hear them and they can't move. Why? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu created such a darkness that the Egyptian cannot, has v'shalom, maybe try and defend themselves or try to strike Bnei Israel. There was also explanation to that, why that later on, V'sha'ala isha mishchenta, simla, that means that when Jewish people later on came to Egypt and said to them, listen, you have in this room, you have that and that and that, can you lend it to me? The Egyptian lent it to them. Why? Because Bnei Israel didn't took nothing. They just looked where is their treasure. On that night, they didn't took anything. And that was the second part of Makat Hoshech. But on that, we have to learn Musar. And I'm going to try and link it now to the coronavirus. I saw a commentary of Baal Hidushei Harim. That's Rabbi Yitzhak Meir Alter. He born in Poland 222 years ago. And he was the first Rebbe of the Gur movement. And in his Hidushim, he explained that there is here a very important message. It said, "Velo ra'u ish et ahiv." It said there is no worse darkness in the world when a person doesn't see his brother when he's suffering. And the worst part of the darkness, "Velo kamu ish mimkomo," that's when you don't try to help your fellow friend when he suffering. He said that here the Torah comes to tell us that in a time that there is problem, in a time that there is sickness in the world, in a time that there is problem to people, people need help. You should want, okay, that you see how your fellow friends suffering and get up of your place and help them. Now, we know today that we have, lo alenu, this plague of the corona that's killing millions all over the world. There's a lot of hope. It's not a joke. It's really not a joke. It's something that we have to take it very seriously. But with it, there's certain people that they in lockdown, those that they in the old age home that can't leave, and if they need a call, we should call them. If you know some need a call, you can give it to me with pleasure. I put it on a group. We ask people to phone them, to speak with them. You know that someone need a medical help, try and help them. People need something to go and buy for them. They can't drive. They're too old to go to the shop. Maybe we should try. And that's the worst darkness. The worst darkness that there is in the world where we don't think and we don't help our fellow brothers. That's the worst. That's how Hidushei Harim explained the Makat Hoshech. That means the darkness, that it's not necessary darkness that you can't see. You can see, but your mind is not open to see. Let's continue on the verse, and then it says, ולכל בני ישראל היה אור במושבותם. What it means that all the Jewish people have a light in their dwelling. We have to understand. So I'm going to bring a commentary of Torat Hacham. Torat Hacham is a book that's been written by Rabbi Haim de la Rosa. Let me explain to you about the surname de la Rosa. De la Rosa, whenever you hear de la Rosa, you must understand that they are the people that have to expel, that they are from the Spanish Inquisition. So they have to expel, that they expel from their country. That means that they have been forced to leave. That means Spain, Portugal, and all of those countries that they have to flee. And de la Rosa means de la Rosa. What it means de la Rosa? They form the city, the setting that called de la Rosa, and they mainly the families that have to leave or to have to flee from Spain. And Rabbi Haim de la Rosa born around 283 years ago in Jerusalem. In his book, Torat Hacham, he explained that what is the Torah say here, Velechol bnei Israel, haya or b'moshvotam, that means all bnei Israel have a light in their dwelling. It's not the light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created on a fourth day. That means the sun and the moon. Because the sun, it's thing physical that you can see. The moon, the darkness, it's not something physical. It's just that when the moon come over the sun, so the sun can't light the earth. You understand? But when it says or, what it mean or? There is a difference. Or is a light. What it mean the light? Say Rabbi Haim de la Rosa, זה האור הגנוז. What it mean האור הגנוז? The light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created on the first day of the creation. That's the light that Hazal speaking and say that Adam HaRishon, before his sin, can see מתחילת העולם ועד סופו. That means Adam HaRishon can see what's happening all over the world. What it means seeing all over the world? How can you see with your eyes? No. Rabbi Haim de la Rosa explained that this light is a spiritual light. What does it mean a spiritual light? This light was so spiritual that HaKadosh Baruch Hu kind of give you a light or insight to see what's happening in the world. And that's sometimes we hear that you go into a great tzaddik. This week was the Yotza of the Baba Sali. The Baba Sali, Rabbi Israel Abu Hatzera. And we know that he performed a lot of miracles. Be'ezrat Hashem, he should perform many miracles to the Jewish people. And he said like this. He said, sometimes you see that the person have that great insight, that's a spiritual light. It's not physical light. So what it say here, Velechol bnei Israel haya or b'moshvotam, that means the spiritual light, all of them have. That means they can see exactly where is everything hidden in the house of the Egyptian. Because sometimes it can be light in your house, but you don't know where to search. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu given them that spiritual light that they knew exactly where is the gold, where is the money, where is the jewelries, where is the nice clothes, and etc. That means, say Rabbi Haim de la Rosa, what it sound on a pshat of the dvarim, or is the light? No, it was the spiritual light. Bnei Israel, on the night of the sixth night, the last 3 night of Makat Bechorot, the merit to receive that spiritual light, where is all the belonging of the Egyptian was. And as Hazal tell us, also in the Gemara, in which Gemara it was? Masechet Hagiga. Yeah, Masechet Hagiga in page 12, folio 1. Yes, 12, folio 1. Hazal say, what did they say there? Hazal said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I will say it in Hebrew and then I translate it to English. Ganaz, how does it say there? Ganaz HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how does it say? גנזו הקדוש ברוך הוא, כן, את האור הגנוז, כן, האור שהיה רגיל, אלא, he explained there that light, הקדוש ברוך הוא, Hazal explained that he hidden it. What it mean hidden it? Put it for לגניזה. גניזה לעתיד לבוא, לצדיקים לעתיד לבוא, that those righteous that will come in every generation, they will have only this spiritual light. That means who's going to benefit from that spiritual light? Only the tzaddikim on every generation. And that's what it means, Or HaGanuz. Okay, that's what Hazal say in Gemara, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu genazo latzadikim la'atid lavo. Okay, so now we understand what was special about the plague of Hosher. With your permission, I'm going to jump now to chapter 11, verse 6. Mark chapter 11, verse 6. And here we're going to speak about the plague of Makat Bechorot. And we try to understand what's happened in Makat Bechorot. והייתה צעקה גדולה בכל ארץ מצרים, אשר כמוה לא נהייתה וכמוה לא תוסף.
There should be a great outcry in the entire land of Egypt, such as there has never been and such as there shall never be again.
Very good. On a pshat of the Dvarim, Hazal, that was a great scream, great crying in Egypt because the firstborn died. But the Mefarshim say, Rega. You saying that to me. But we have to understand, why is it say V'ayta tza'aka? Tza'aka, it's in feminine. It should say that Hayu tza'akim in plural, because all of them cry. No, it doesn't say. It said tza'aka in feminine. Why dafka in feminine? The Mefarshim ask. What is the secret behind it? So to understand that, we have to do a bit of introduction. Hazal tell us that the land of Egypt was a land that full of immoral and depraved. The Egyptian people was a depraved people and full of immorality. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he brought the plagues of the firstborn, he created miracle inside miracle inside miracle. And we don't understand it until we learn it. So on the pshat of the Dvarim, we understand when HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plagues of Makat Bechor. The firstborn from father and mother died. Not on pshat of the Dvarim. It's not simple. There is another message here. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu show that he's in control of the entire world, even what human beings do. Not only that he knows how many people there is in every country and how many people there is in the world. He showed that he's in charge and he's in control. And he knows exactly what everyone do. But that's not only the thing. He knows exactly who's the firstborn and who's not the firstborn. And that's where he strike. That means here HaKadosh Baruch Hu show that he's in control of the entire world. Bnei Israel and to Egyptian. Why? To build in Bnei Israel the emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's the one. There is no other God. For the Egyptian, to prove to them that all their God is absolutely bubamaises, nonsense, gurnish mit gurnisht, that they're worshipping idols. But on top of that, the Torah come and reveal to us a great secret. And Hazal say that we know that the Egyptian, they was immoral and depraved people, like it was nothing like this, was nothing like this. And a matter of fact, listen to that. Hazal tell us in the Gemara, 10 kabim shel znut yardu la'olam. 10 measure of immorality came down to earth. 9 natla Africa. 9 of those measures took Africa. The rest, the 1%, the rest of the world. So we see how much immorality was in Africa. And at that time it was Egypt. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle that he killed every firstborn. And you know what it wasn't feminine? Now you're going to understand. If a husband and a wife marry, they should have only one child that it was a firstborn. If she married a second time, can be that they have 2 firstborn. One from the husband, one from her, because that's in marriage. He said that what's happened, that in a plague of Makat Bechorot, the plague of the firstborn, suddenly the husband see that Muhammad is the firstborn, Ishmael is the firstborn, and etc. and etc. Yasser Arafat is the firstborn, Mujahideen is also firstborn. How can it be that I have 4 firstborn in my house? He realized that his wife, that he was thinking his wife, was married to the older neighborhood. Suddenly she have too many kids from all different husbands. And he started beating her. So every husband suddenly realized that his wife wasn't such a great wife. And they used to beat the wife. And that's what the screaming come in feminine. That means that it wasn't only that they cry for the dead firstborn. The woman was crying because the husband was beating them. Why? Because they committed immorality. And now we can understand why it's said in feminine, "V'ayta tza'aka gdola." That means it was such a great scream in feminine in entire land of Egypt, that here HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed the behavior of the Egyptian, how much there was immorality in Egypt. And that's the miracle inside miracle that we can understand. With your permission, I would like to move on to chapter 12 and verse 2. We see something very interesting. In chapter 12, verse 2. Mark, are you with me, I hope? Okay, 12:2.
Yep.
Okay, in 12:2,
Yeah.
there's something very interesting. Look what it said. החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים. ראשון הוא לחודשי השנה.
This month shall be for you the beginning of the months. It shall be for you the first of months of the year.
Okay. Here we see, according to the Pshat of the Dvarim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu and to Bnei Israel, remember the months of Nisan. The months of Nisan, that's going to be the first month that you're going to calculate everything. Okay. I understand that's on Pshat of the Dvarim, that the months of Nisan, that's going to be. But what does it say? Rishon hu lachem lechodshei hashana, to all the years. What's happening here? We have to understand what's happening here. So according to the Pshat of the Dvarim, we said that that's the first month that we're counting, that we're organizing our calendar. Okay, we understand. When I say the calendar, I'm not talking about the calendar that we have. The calendar that we kind like Hatzom HaAsiri, Hatzom HaRevi'i, that when we know where is every fast. Okay? When do we start calculating? Because the first month is Nisan. So what's going to be the second month? Sivan. Iyar. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. So what does it mean on a pshat of the dvarim? That's going to be the beginning of every month. But I saw a beautiful commentary that bring in the Marana Bet Yosef. Marana Bet Yosef is Rabbi Yosef Karo. Rabbi Yosef Karo, born in a city of Toledo in Spain 533 years ago. And he explained like this. He explained it more according to the Drash. And he says something extraordinary. Listen what he said. He said that the plague that the months of Nisan, what does it represent? What is the star lack of it? Aries. Aries. What's happened on Nisan? HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded Bnei Israel to take a lamb at the beginning and to tie this lamb to their bed. Why? Because the Egyptians used to worship who? The lamb. One of the gods was the lamb. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the lamb, and I'll show you that the Egyptian can't do nothing. That means to degrade the idol worshipping of Egypt, number one. But that's not all. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu done? HaKadosh Baruch Hu done something else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he brought the plagues of the firstborn, when it was on the 15th of Nisan, in the middle of the month, when the moon is full, when the Egyptian was thinking that the month of Nisan, that's the month with the best star luck that they have, HaKadosh Baruch Hu strike them. What did he say? Bring the korban. You're going to slaughter the lamb. That means you're going to slaughter whose? God, the Egyptian that they're worshiping, in the front of their eyes. And you're going to eat it in a way that like kings, and you're not going to even break a bones, like the poor people even eating the bones. You're not allowed. You're going to keep the lamb full, that even the Egyptians see that even after you finish, they can recognize the carcasses, that it's the lamb. That's on Pshat of the Dvarim. But what's the idea behind it? Said the Marana Bet Yosef, the Egyptian here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu come and show even the Egyptian that he's the only God. And on that day that they thinking that, on that month that they thinking that that's the month that they start like on a base, I will turn it to the Egyptian, to the month that it will be crying and grief for them. That's going to be the worst thing. I will turn it that it will be your month, Bnei Israel. That's the month that you going to have a joy and happiness, and that's the month that you're going to turn to a nation. How we know? Because that's the month that HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed us from Egypt, in the month of Nisan. And Dafka on that month, that the Egyptian was thinking that's the month of the God, that they can create everything, that they have the best star luck. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Dafka on that month. And when I'm going to strike? Dafka when the moon is full, when everything is full, when there is light. I'm going to strike, and I'm going to show the Egyptian that I can kill not only their God, I can kill even the firstborn. So that means in Makat Bechorot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu performed many miracles. And not only that, he said to Bnei Israel, "Chodesh hazeh lachem," that month that the Egyptian was thinking that that's their starlight, they're on the top, I'll turn it to you as the best month, the month of happy, the month of joys, the month that you're going to be my nation. And that's what it means, Chodesh hazeh lachem. That's how Maran Arbet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo, explained that verse. I would like to conclude with something very interesting. Let's go to verse 12. And in verse 12, it says something very interesting, and we have to understand what's happening here. In verse 12, it says like this, ועברתי בארץ מצרים בלילה הזה, והכיתי כל בכור בארץ מצרים, מאדם ובהמה, בכל אלוהי מצרים אעשה שפטים, אני אדוני.
I shall go through the land of Egypt on this night, and I shall strike every firstborn in the land of Egypt. From man to beast, and against all the gods of Egypt, I shall mete out punishment. I am Hashem.
Okay, that's something that you should keep for Pesach, please God, this year on Pesach. We can all join together, we can all celebrate together with our families. Keep it for Leila Seder. This Hidush, I saw in the Zohar HaKadosh. The mystical rabbi, Kabbalistic rabbis say, if you look at all the other plagues, the first 3 plagues, Aaron performed it, you remember. The other 6 plagues, Moshe Rabbeinu performed. The plagues of Makat Bechorot, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu performed. Asking the Mekubalim, wait, what's happening here? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to perform it himself? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to perform it? If you don't want Moshe Rabbeinu to perform it, that has v'shalom, okay, you don't want Moshe Rabbeinu to perform it, you can send an angel. No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't send an angel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said him himself, he's going to go down to the land of Egypt, and he's going to strike every firstborn. So the Mekubalim asked, the mystical rabbi asked, why Dafka HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself have to perform that plague? It's a very interesting question. So I saw in a Zohar in Sefer Bereshit, in Sefer Bereshit in 116, folio 2. The Zohar there, I need to remember the page because I don't always remember all of them. The Zohar there explained something extraordinary. Listen what the Zohar said. The Zohar explained that the air in Egypt was so contaminated from the evil forces, from all the witchcrafting, those magicians that they have. They created so much evil forces that the air was so contaminated that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was worried that if he's going to send even an angel to perform that plague, that angel, okay, get contaminated. That means angel that doesn't understand, doesn't have the freedom of choice, nothing. If he gonna go down to the land of Egypt, he gonna get contaminated. HaKadosh Baruch Hu realized. And if he gonna get contaminated, that angel, he cannot perform. He cannot perform the plague of the firstborn. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, in that case, me, as a Kadosh Baruch Hu, in his own glory, he have to come down himself to perform that plague. No one else can perform the plagues of firstborn, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if I send anyone else to do that job, he's going to get contaminated and he can perform that. So that means from here we learn, when Hazal tell us that Bnei Israel reached the 49 level of impurity, we can understand that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't redeem that, and that's what we said, Kadosh Baruch Hu, when he redeemed us in a hurry. Why dafka in a hurry? Hazal explained that if Bnei Israel will stand there for another few more minutes, they will reach the 50 level of impurity. And that's Sha'ar HaKfirah. What it means, Sha'ar HaKfirah? Sha'ar HaKfirah is the 50th level of non-believing. It's unheard of. So you're gonna come and ask me now, and that's what Hazal asked today. But today we see many people that are not unbelievers, non-believers. Yeah, that was before Matan. Today, after we receive Matan Torah, people can reach the 50th level and be in a merit of the Torah they can get out of. But because Bnei Israel didn't receive that, because they didn't receive the Torah, they couldn't, Has Shalom, if they would wait 1 minute, they wouldn't be redeemed. So said the Mekubalim, from here you learn something very important, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed to go down to Egypt to perform that kind of a miracle, to kill every firstborn in. Why? So no one in Egypt can do the job. That means no other person can perform the plagues lo alenu, of Makat Bechorot. Otherwise they're going to get contaminated. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should all merit, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will merit us and pure us and holy us, and then we'll see Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. And if anyone want to ask question, please unmute yourself, and you can ask question regarding the Parashat, but not necessary that I will try.
Rabbi Levy, sorry, the plague of darkness was the truth 80%, you said, on.
That was quick.
There's so much noise. Say again, Stephen. Say again.
He said 80%. Is that the 2/3 people say died in the plague of darkness?
80% of Bnei Israel, yeah, over 2 million. Yes, you're right.
2/3. 2 million.
Over
So would it be
2
5 million who were left?
80%.
Sure.
That means left from Israel only 20%. Okay.
So 3 million left. Would have been about 5 million had they not.
It was close, yes.
Almost same color.
That means Bnei Israel, not only that they give bread, there was multiplying. There was multi-bread. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Sure. Anyone have?
Hello, it's Anthony here.
Oh, Antonio.
How are you?
Baruch Hashem and you.
All right, thanks. It says in chapter 10, verse 28, Pharaoh said to him, "Go from me, beware, do not see my face anymore. For on the day that you see my face, you shall die." Moshe said, "You have spoken correctly. I shall never see your face again." Can you explain that, please?
Okay. Here, Pharaoh said that if you're going to come and see me again, you're going to be dead. That's what it says, Vayushav et Moshe ve'et Aaron. What it means, Vayushav? That Pharaoh, after he got the plagues, what did he say to Bnei Israel? Where is Moshe? So then his advisor to bring them back on the front. We say that if you're going to come in the front of me, the punishment is dead. Like he decide who's going to die. But here it say Vayushav et Moshe ve'et Aaron. What it means Vayushav et Moshe ve'et Aaron? He sent people to look for Moshe and Aaron to bring them back to stop the plague. You follow? It's not that Moshe Rabbeinu come in the front of Moshe like usually until now. That Moshe used to come. You follow?
Yes, I see. And one other thing, it says, right at the end, it says, Be'etzem hayom hazeh. What does Be'etzem mean? On that very day.
Yes, yes.
What does Be'etzem? Just could have said by Yom hazeh. Why does it say Be'etzem hayom hazeh?
What do you mean? You mean wait, I'm losing you.
It says,
You mean what
"Va'etzem hayom hazeh hotzi Adonai et bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim." On that very day, are you going to redeem us from Egypt? Why doesn't it say on that day? Why does it say on that very day?
Very good, very good, very good. Now I understand your question. So you're referring to the word be'etzem hayom hazeh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is be'etzem hayom hazeh? That's what we explained. What was that day? That was the 15th of Nisan.
Yes.
That was Pesach that we're celebrating. That means that he said to us that you have to all the time, the same like this day that the same day that are redeeming from Egypt, that's the 15th of Nisan, that's forever. You're going to celebrate number one Pesach. That means, what does it mean Pesach? Milshon psiha, that are overstep, pass over, a pass over the house of the Jewish people. You're always going to have to remember that day, the 15th of Nisan. Ba'etzem hayom hazeh. On that day, the 15th of Nisan, you will celebrate Pesach.
Okay, thanks very much.
Pleasure, pleasure. Any other question, Rabotai? Adam?
Yes, hi, Rabbi. Thank you. It was incredible. I wanted to ask you a question. You said the ages between 20 and 60.
Nachon.
They died.
Nachon. That's the
plague of
yes,
they,
yes.
they died out in Mitzrayim because of what? Because of
because the sin of Chet HaMeraglim. That's the Gemara in Masechet Baba Batra 121, folio 1. You remember what happened there? When the Meraglim came and they brought the report to Bnei Israel, Eretz Ochelet Yoshvea, you remember? You remember, Eden?
Yeah.
So the spy spoke badly about Eretz Israel. And Bnei Israel was crying. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Bnei Israel, why are you crying? Why are you crying? I'm going to give you the land, honey, and milk. And you crying, I'll give you a reason to cry. And what's happened? We know that that day was Tisha B'Av. So forever, we're crying on Tisha B'Av because that day that Bnei Israel cried. But what's happened? Also, Bnei Israel complained it was Het HaEgel, they done a lot of sin. What's happened? For 40 years, the punishment was that they're going to be in the wilderness, and lo alenu, the age of 20, whoever was on 20 until 60, they will die in the wilderness. But those that was below the age of 20, they will merit to enter Eretz Israel. Those elderly that was over the age of 60, they will merit to enter Eretz Israel. And who was those people? We explained Caleb ben Yefuneh and Yeshua bin Nun. You follow?
Only those two were over 60.
Yeah, that's what it say. Mi va mi. Yeah, because who else was there? Was also Moshe Rabbeinu, but he didn't merit. Who was there? Miriam didn't merit. Aaron didn't merit. None of them merit to enter Eretz Israel.
Okay, I mean, I find that
they was over the age of 60 when there was in the wilderness. You follow?
Right, but could there only be two people over the age of 60?
Yeah, because plus another 40 years in the wilderness.
Oh, that's true. The rest they died out. So,
okay. Listen, Moshe Rabbeinu was in the age of 80 when he came to Pharaoh. And at the age of 81, he took Bnei Israel, we explained. That means in the age of 120, that means that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he reached to the end of the 39 years, that's the 40, he died in the age of 120. You follow?
Yeah.
So Bnei Israel was in the wilderness for 40 years.
Okay, and then you said, the Rabbi said that with the plague of locusts,
yes.
the only time that Paro said remove the dead.
Remove the, yeah.
Right, because
why there and not anywhere?
Right, because you said that the locusts died No, it didn't work on Shabbos, and so did the Bnei Israel. Didn't work on Shabbos.
And that's what you say in Tfilah, on Tfilat Shacharit on Shabbat. Mah Moshe b'matanat chelko. That Moshe actually constitute for Bnei Israel not to work on Shabbat. You understand? And what was b'matanat chelko? And a present that he brought to himself and to the Jewish people. You understand?
Yeah. So it also says that his matanat chelko was just that he was a ish. What was it?
Matanat chelko, the present that he brought to himself, that he merited from it, that he gave the Shabbat to Bnei Israel while they was in Egypt already.
Right.
Because till there, Bnei Israel didn't have to keep Shabbat. When did they have to keep Shabbat? In Marah. You remember?
No.
When they reached to Sham tziva lahem chok u'mishpat. What it means, chok u'mishpat? I'll explain chok u'mishpat, that's Shabbat. Brought them the law of Shabbat, one of them.
Okay.
You follow?
Thank you. Yeah.
Pleasure. Any other question, Rabotai, regarding the Parsha that you maybe have? Maybe I didn't explain it properly. If I can, I will try. I don't know if I can, but I'll try my best. No. Okay, Rabotai. So would like, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask all of you. I'm going to send a message to our friend Dr. Les, and on behalf of me and on behalf of all of you, all members of the shul. First of all, we're wishing him Baruch Dayan Haemet and wishing him a long life. And I'm going to post his, I'll ask him if he, okay, that to post his number. And people even send them privately a message to wish him comfort and to wish all the morning. None of us will see anymore. So to wish all of you, number one, keep safe, have great Shabbos, and look after yourself. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should married on Sunday night. We should meet again. I say married. We should all meet again on Sunday night for the show. Please God on Sunday night. And everyone have a great night. Have a great Shabbos. Look after. Keep safe. All the best.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Good Shabbos to you as well.
All the best.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.